Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what part of the world you are joining us from today. My name is Cherise Dalton, and I'm the Marketing Director at Actify. And I'd like to welcome and thank you all for joining today's SpinFire 11.9 Tips and Tricks webinar. As a reminder, all attendees are muted and in listen-only mode for the duration of the webinar. Should you have any questions during the presentation, please submit them through the questions panel of the webinar dashboard, and an Actify representative will reach out to you after the webinar. Today, we have my colleagues Todd Underhill and Alan Hardy presenting for you. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Todd.
Cherise, thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Todd Underhill. I'm a Senior Account Manager at Actify, and welcome to our SpinFire Tips and Tricks webinar. So before we jump into the product demonstration, I want to take a moment and give you another way to look at SpinFire, really to look at the value that SpinFire can bring to your organization. The purpose is to challenge the norm, cut costs, increase efficiencies, and just be more competitive. Here's today's agenda, so I'll give you a few seconds to take a look at that. We recently made a change to our website. We no longer have our SpinFire.com website address. If you go to that web address, it'll automatically push you to our new Actify.com site, and this is the landing page for that. A few areas that I want to point out up here at the top. I think you guys can see my cursor. You have the products icon. This will provide you with information on our SpinFire Enterprise solution and our APM Automotive Program Management solution. In the resource section, you can find the latest product documentation, which includes information like what's new, latest release notes, and more information. In the company section, you'll see information on events, newsrooms, and customers. So if we take a look at the customer page, you'll see what our customers are saying about Actify and our SpinFire Enterprise solution. This is our customer page. During our last 3C Summit, we interviewed some of our customers to gain a better understanding of how they were using our SpinFire Enterprise solution and the impact that it had on their business. And here's just some videos of those conversations that we had. Here's one comment that we pulled from one of our customers, Jeff Hearn at Royal Power Solutions. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but just the first sentence here. SpinFire actually is the backbone of how we do business. I think that's a pretty powerful statement. Working with 3D data used to be the domain for engineers only. And to gain an understanding, you either needed to talk to one or be one. That's no longer the case. Working with 3D is part of everyone's common experience. It's how you deliver that experience to the non-engineers. That's really the secret. It is also true that software needs to be readily available to anyone who has a need to see and understand that product definition. And that's what SpinFire Enterprise delivers. Problems justifying change. What are some of the common symptoms that are impeding your strategic goals? Late response to RFQs. How does that affect your business? Problem with production launches. It's about having organized information and where to find the latest data. How many times have you heard the wrong designs going into production? We have heard stories from our customers and prospects of their overall problems and the cost associated with responding to RFQs late, the wrong designs going into production. A contributing factor, if not the root cause, is the team's lack of access to the product knowledge and collaboration across the enterprise. Digital part information to view, collaborate, and investigate is mandatory across any organization. For suppliers handling multiple CAD formats, it's really part of doing business with your customers. CAD viewers provide a cost-effective alternative solution to those high-end CAD software suites for interaction with CAD models. But the full potential value is limited when only a select few users have access. 4% of employees in a typical organization are those of what we want to call power users, users that can make changes to your CAD model. So what do you do with everyone else in your organization? A good percentage of them need access to the product knowledge as well. If they don't have access to the product knowledge, what is that risk? Errors, increased cost. They're forced to make uninformed decisions. And lastly, they bother their coworkers by walking down to the next cubicle to get that information. A typical vendor does not talk about strategic value. They usually sell on features. Imagine this, we have 60 plus competitors, and to my knowledge, not even one of them sell a true enterprise solution. It's all per seat. So what does this mean to you? You forego goals. You ask who can go without. You limit access to the product knowledge. Without access, users, managers find small budgets to buy from vendors of their choice to solve a niche problem. I've seen where companies have multiple vendors across the entire organization and they're unable to collaborate. Again, the real cause is vendors sell on a per seat license, limiting who gets access to the product data. Traditionally, viewers have been licensed to a single workstation or concurrent user group. This has restricted access to the users with the most immediate needs. Actify's SpinFire subscription provides access to everyone, every device within your organization, which can be defined as a location, a division, up to and including the entire enterprise. When access to SpinFire is unlimited, sales teams can mark up designs while meeting with customers. Manufacturing quality teams can check specifications and tolerances on the shop floor. And now everyone does have access to that design information. And it truly is a single version of the truth. What if you could have employees access SpinFire at work, on the road, or at home to maximize productivity? Access SpinFire on every computer from the shop floor to the top floor corporate-wide. Access in conference rooms by interns, temps, consultants, management, and others. What if you could let everyone collaborate openly, measure from the same version of truth? What would that mean for your business? We have a lot of companies taking advantage of our SpinFire Enterprise solution. I've seen where companies went from just a handful of users to upwards of over 20 users in less than a month's time frame. They're finding ways to get other people involved. Additionally, SpinFire Enterprise subscription consolidates the cost of licensing and managing multiple CAD viewers and ensures consistent interpretation of the CAD models, thereby reducing errors. SpinFire provides access to all major CAD formats and empowers users across the extended enterprise to inspect, interact with the CAD files. It enhances workers' ability to collaborate with customers and suppliers, as well as internal teams, to improve productivity, accelerate communications, and eliminate those costly mistakes. If you look at the cost of a typical CAD system, it's upwards of $50 per user per day. Now compare that to SpinFire Enterprise, where the daily cost per user is less than the cost of a cup of coffee per user per day. Here's one example of a SpinFire Enterprise customers and the cost savings that they've seen after purchasing SpinFire Enterprise. They're a tier 1 automotive supplier. They have 4 tech centers. They're able to terminate 43 native CAD licenses. They gain unlimited SpinFire for at work, on the road, or at home. This supplier saved over $200,000 in annual costs by terminating those 43 native CAD licenses. They're able to standardize on a vendor-neutral platform. And with 2 years of their initial agreement, they were able to expand to include 64 additional plants. Another product that we announced is our CAD Publishing solution. The purpose of CAD Publishing is to publish data from a native CAD file for downstream use. Like SpinFire, it handles multiple native CAD formats and allows your organization to convert those CAD files. It could be a single part or an assembly from a designated folder, and convert those CAD files to other formats like SpinFire Ultimate, an image or a thumbnail, or other formats like Step, IGES, JT, and others. So I want to thank you for your time. Now I'm going to pass this over to Alan Hardy for a product overview.
Thank you, Todd. So again, my name is Alan Hardy. I am one of the application engineers here at Actify. Today I want to just introduce you to some of our new features that are now available in the latest release of SpinFire Ultimate 11.9.0. But before we start, I just want to bring your attention to our help site. One way to navigate to our help site is within the application, go to the drop-down menu up at the top, the help, and press the help option here, or simply just press F1 on your keyboard. And that will bring you to...
Alan, sorry to interrupt. You're not sharing your screen.
I apologize for that. All right. So again, let me just bring SpinFire back up. So again, at the top of your screen in SpinFire Ultimate is a help menu. If I click on this, that will bring up our help.actify.com website in your web browser. And here, I'll navigate to the SpinFire application. And now we can see what's new in SpinFire 11, and anything else that you might need help with, you can navigate through our tree on the left-hand side, or just simply do a search for a keyword on the top right corner here. So if I click on what's new in SpinFire 11, this will bring me to the page that gives the highlights, the major highlights of the latest release. So, and what I'll be covering today is draw and compare, our scripting capabilities that we now have available, ability to convert up to 10 CAD files, and then our advanced selection with either by colors or attributes. Another important update that we have with 11.9.0 is this ability to export to glTF and import 3MF file formats. So those, we have now full capabilities of import and export of glTF and 3MF standard formats. And then additionally, you can find the latest updates for each version of native CAD applications, such as CATIA and NX. Now, if I scroll down on the left-hand side, you see all the release notes for every release that is available in SpinFire 11. So if I navigate down to 11.9.0, you'll see a more granular view of all the release notes pertaining to 11.9.0. One important thing I want to mention is this, and this is regarding for anybody who uses a floating license for using the SpinFire application. To upgrade to 11.9.0, you will need to have yourself or your IT upgrade the floating license manager to 11.17.2. And if I click on that, this will bring me to the page to download that latest floating license manager, as well as some additional instructions for doing that update. In addition to some of the new features in SpinFire, I'll get to this a little later, is this, you can find some scripting examples. So one of the new features we have available is ability to trigger actions based on a line in a script. So for example, to get physical properties, you have a few lines here, lines of code that is generated. And all the, once this is generated, all you have to do is then just click a button and to trigger that. All right. So back into the SpinFire application, in the on the left-hand side, you have Homes, Library, Workspace, and Options, Settings, Importers. So on the Importer page, you'll see all of the available formats that you have based on your license, and anything that any file format that you want to associate with SpinFire. So in other words, when you double click on a file, it will, as long as it's associated to SpinFire, it will open directly up into SpinFire. Again, one of the new available features, importers that we have, is the 3MF format, 3D manufacturing format. If this is currently grayed out for you, then please contact us to resolve that, because in your latest, you'll probably need to get just an updated version of that license. So we might need to manually enable that for you if it's still grayed out for you. All right. Now, under my file export menu, I mentioned that we also have the ability to now export the glTF format. These are a couple different formats that are now standardized formats that are available with SpinFire Ultimate. Now that 3MF file, if I, for example, take this plate.step file and export it as a 3MF, what this allows me to then do, once I create that file, I already have a file already generated here. So this 3MF file. I can take that 3MF file, for example, and open up a Microsoft application such as Microsoft Words, and just import that 3D data into Microsoft Words. And now I have this ability to, I can adjust the size of this, and I can navigate this, and I can spin this model around directly in a Microsoft Word document. It's a really nice feature with that 3MF file format. All right. Now a new feature that we have with our converter. So we have this ability to import individual files and export individual files to different formats, but you also have this convert tool, which allows you to run a conversion of a set of files without having to open up those files directly in SpinFire. So with this convert menu open, I'll go to the bottom here where it says add file, and now I can actually, instead of one file at a time, convert up to 10 files. So now you see all the items here listed here for the CAD products and CAD part files. And let's say I want to export it as a JT, I want to export it as a step file, adjust my settings, and maybe I want AP214 or AP242, PMI attributes, and then I'll click convert, and you'll see that SpinFire jumps to the library page, and it gives you kind of a console at the bottom of my screen to give you the status on these files. Now I know that I have some files bookmarked here in my library, and it's all labeled under, or it's saved under my aqua bottle, which is the file that I converted. You'll see now these new files that I had generated to step and JT. Now what I could have done was I could have, in my converter menu, is I could have changed my output file path so it saved it into a separate folder. Or I could have created a subfolder called JT and put all those JT files in there. Okay. Another thing I wanted to mention with your importer settings, each one of these importer settings, let's say you have PMI data, that's your product manufacturing information, your annotations, your GD&T dimensionings and tolerancings that you may have in the 3D data. There's also attributes that could be embedded in the CAD data. So I can go to the individual file format and manage it individually to enable or disable certain elements of the CATIA file format, or I could say I want to adjust for all my options for all file formats and enable where is attributes right here. All right, so apply that. All right, once that's applied, I'll close. Now, one of the major features that we now have available with SpinFire 11.9.0 is this advanced selection tool. That is going to be found up here on the top left corner. If I hover over this third button, there's this orange funnel icon. Click on that, and I can see a list of all the existing colors that are available in this CAD model. There's also a tab here for attributes if there's any attributes involved embedded into that CAD geometry. And if I click on something like, let's say this green item, you'll see all of the items that are that color are now selected. So it's a multi-selection here. If I were to right click on that selection, I can say hide selected items, show only selected items, and I can also calculate. I can calculate the group of the selected items based on the volume, surface area, or weight. And if I wanted to calculate the weight, I also have controls over what kind of material am I calculating from. And right now, currently zinc is selected. So if I were to do a weight calculation, it would base it off of that zinc. Okay. Let's jump over to this plate. Now, if I were to do a multi-selection based on colors again here, you see here it's a single part, and only one color is showing. So why is that? Well, we have this checkbox here that says use surfaces. So if I enable that, I now see the rest of these colors listed here with the count of how many surfaces have that color. So if I were to select everything in red, I can then see the items highlighted in the tree and highlighted in the 3D area. Let's say I want to take the selection here and change the color. So now I'm able to change everything that was red all at once to maybe something like this blue color here. Okay. Another feature that we now have with 11.9.0 is to do a reset of any changes that I made, whether it's change of colors, whether it's moving parts around. So I'll just go ahead and toggle between my surface and my solid. So if I had surface, again, if I have surface highlighted here, and if I click on the part, it's only going to highlight the surface. But if I toggle to select the full model, I can then right click and it selects the entire component. And we have this new feature in this menu when I right click on that part. pulls up this context menu. There's a reset to default, and I can say all, or I can just maybe reset a specific area, such as just the color, or transform if I had moved the parts. But I'll go ahead and select color, and it resets that back to red. Here we have our engine assembly. I know that this is a good example that we have with a lot of attributes. So let's say I want to select any or all objects that have a specific type of material. So, I'm navigating on the left-hand side, all the different types of attributes here, and I see here's material name. Now on the right-hand side are all the materials that are embedded into this CAD assembly. So if I were to select copper, it selects all of the parts that have that attribute, that has that material information and properties built into that object. The next feature I wanted to highlight was this ability to compare 2D drawings. So what I have here is just a simple 2D drawing of a tooling fixture. And the first thing I'll need to do is import the second drawing on top of this first drawing. So if I were to just go to File, Import, and then navigate to, I'm going to get to my 2D drawings and select Sprogdie root 2.0. So now I'm comparing the 1.0 to 2.0, and it's the same name in the tree, but you can kind of see if I click on one of them, you see some items in red and some in black. Everything in red is currently what is selected. So to compare this, I'll find this compare feature up on the top. Hover over the icon that has two boxes kind of hovering over each other, two squares. So I'll click on that, and I will now need to select two drawings that I want to compare. So I'll click on Black 1 and Black 2, and then I can say if I want change the coloring to a different color, such as green, and then I'll click compare. And then once this completes, there will be a little scroll bar here that allows me to kind of control the transparency between the two. So everything that's different is green. Everything that is still, black or gray that hasn't changed is still that black or gray color. And if I were to hover over this and change this transparency to 100%, that's just basically almost turning it off, but making it 100% transparent, so you hide that color green if I go 100%. Okay. The next thing I wanted to show today is a new feature that allows you to do scripting within SpinFire 11.9.0. This is really a programmer's dream. They love to create code to be able to trigger actions with a click of a button. So if I open this pull-down menu on my script icon, I can see a handful of scripts that I've already created, that I've uploaded into my application. And if I were to click on something like rotate, it will automatically trigger that rotate just the one time. Now, if I wanted to make a modification to that rotate script, I'll go to this pull down menu again and navigate over to the right of that, rotate.py, which is Python, a Python script, and I'll click on edit script, and this brings up my script panel. And let's say I want to maybe adjust this to rotate 30 degrees. And now if I press play, it rotates it at 30 degrees. Right. And if I wanted to maybe change how many times this is triggered, like maybe let's do this 5 times. So it's a range of 0 to 5. And say I'll go ahead and run that, and it triggers that rotation at 30 degrees 5 times. All right. Now I can, if I want to do this from scratch, I'll click on new script, and I can type in my script here, and then click save when I'm done, or I can click on this plus icon here, and that'll open up a new script tab window here in this script editor. Another example we have here is maybe we want to import an additional item here. So we have one rim currently. I will say, let's say import rim sample. So I've already hard coded this script to open up a specific file for this example. So click on that, and that will directly import a second rim into my workspace. You also see here on the tree. Now, if I right click on that item in the tree, click on transform, I get my handles where I can maybe move this over to the side here, and so they're no longer overlapping. Now, let's say I want to take these 2 rims and change some colors. So here's a script that I've defined to change the color of the surface. I'll go ahead and toggle my surface selection, and select that this one surface part of this rim here, and navigate to my script again and click on color surface, and it automatically triggers or changes the color of that surface. Again, if I click on this one, oops, and you see if I edit that script, you'll see kind of a hex color definition of that color. Go ahead and trigger that. And now you see 2 different colors here. Again, with one of the new features we have with 11.9.0 is this reset feature. Reset to default. So let's say I want to at least just reset the transform, bring back to the original position of that, where that part was positioned when it first was loaded into my workspace. So with SpinFire, we have a handful of analysis tools as well. With these analysis tools, you can create maybe this, for example, a wall thickness analysis. And then with that wall thickness analysis, you can create a user view so that you can, next time you save this CAD file, you open this up, and the next day you can navigate back to that new user view that you created with that wall thickness. The new advantage we have here now with these analysis tools, with these user views, is that keeps that gradient bar. And previously you click on this wall thickness user view and you'd see this color analysis, but you wouldn't, maybe it didn't note down what those colors meant, what values those colors meant. So now we have this gradient bar that keeps with that user view. All right. And again, just want to remind everybody that if you ever need any assistance or looking for help from support, you can navigate to our help site and open up, again, that opens up at help.actify.com. Find any answers, find what's new in the latest release, and as well as maybe reaching out to support. You can reach out to SpinFire support@actify.com or go to our support site and create a ticket directly within the web browser. Here we have what to include in a support ticket as well, such as maybe your seed ID and maybe some log files, error messages. And speaking of error messages, I did forget to mention one more thing with this script feature, is we also have a Python.NET console that is now available. So if you're not aware, SpinFire has the ability to turn on errors and outputs, so a console of errors to see what kind of any error messages that might appear, or just a log file of the output of that CAD data, information on what type of data, such as points and surfaces and solids and faces, are converted over. We also have this Python net console, which every time you trigger a script, a line of code will appear saying whether it's successful or if there's an error to it, maybe saying that there's an error in the text of that script line and what have you. All right, so I will now hand this back over to Todd. Again, thank you all for watching this demo today. Thank you, Todd.
Thanks, Alan. We have a couple ways that you can reach out to our support team. One is on our website. Our website is support.actify.com. You're going to hit this landing page. If you already have an account, you can just log in. If you don't, you'll need to create one. You'll need to create a new account for yourself. You also can reach us, our support, at SpinFire support@actify.com. We'll be sending out notifications on our next webinar. Feel free to subscribe to our 8 p.m. LinkedIn group on LinkedIn. You can also follow us on Twitter @Actify_Inc. If you want to learn more about SpinFire Enterprise or have any questions, feel free to reach out to me either by email or mobile. My email address is t_hill@actify.com, and my mobile number is right below that. Now, again, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Todd, and thank you, Alan, and thank you, everyone, for attending. Those that had questions during the webinar, we'll make sure to reach out to you and provide you the answers to those questions, and we look forward to seeing you all on our next webinar. Have a good rest of your day. Take care.